This is the fifth problem in the assignment 6. So in this problem we have given two strings x and y, and we need to find the length of the longest common substring. So here we have two strings and the longest common substring in these two strings, its length is 4, because we have this a b c d and which is common in the string y also. So its length is 4 and the output is 4. So to solve this problem, and we could use a matrix. Let's take a smaller example. A b c x y. Let's assume this is x and y equals to x, y and abc. So for this we need to take an matrix which has x plus 1 number of rows and y plus 1 number of columns. So the length of x is 5, so we have 6 rows and 6 columns, and for initially I'll fill it with zeros, so 6 rows and 6 columns. Now what we are going to do is we are going to iterate through this matrix, and we are gonna compare the two strings. So let's start with this a, and we compare if we find a in this string y. So wherever we find the match, then we are going to add, so we are going to increment this number, and for this we are going to add the previous number which is diagonal to this. So if we take up a, we have a here, so where this will be, we need to add 1 in addition to the number which is diagonal previous number, like 0 plus 1. So here we have 0, so we need to add 1 to this, and we need to update it here. And we keep track of the length, so every time we change the length we'll compare it with the length, and if it is greater then we are going to change to the new length. So then after this we check for the a again, and we do not have it. Then we go to the next one which is b, and we search for the b. So b is not equals to x, y and a, and here we found b. So here what we need to do is we need to add 1 to the previous previous number which is diagonal to this row and column. So this one, this is 1, so we add 1 to 1 which becomes 2, and we compare it with the length, and length becomes 2. So we come to the next letter which is C, and here we have C. So we need to add 1 here in addition to this previous 2. So 2 plus 1 becomes 3 here, and the length becomes 3. And here we have x. So here we get the x, and this becomes 0 plus 1. so it becomes 1, and we compare this with the length. So length is 3, which is greater than 1, so we do not change the length. And we check for the x at all other places, and we do not find it, and we go to the next y, and so we compare it with x, which is not equal, and then we here it is y, so it is equal, and we need to add 1 to the previous number, which becomes 1 plus 1, it is 2, and we compare it with the length. So the length is 3, which is greater than 2, and so we do not change it. Once we have iterated through all these characters, we are going to return the length, which is 3. So 3 is the maximum common longest common substring we have in both of these strings. Now let's implement this in the code. So function common substring, it is going to take 2 strings as an argument, x and y. So first we need to make the matrix. For that I'm taking a variable matrix in which I'm going to take an array with the length x dot length plus 1, and I'm plus 1, and I'm going to fill it with all zeros, and at each entry in this array we need to have another array. So I'm going to use the map, in which I'm going to have another arrays of length y dot length plus 1, and I'm going to fill that with zeros. So now we will get a matrix with x dot length plus 1 number of rows and y dot length plus 1 number of columns. And let's initialize the variable length to keep track of the longest common length. Now let's start iterating through the strings. Then I equals to x dot length I plus plus, and for the second string I am using another for loop which starts from index 1, y dot length j plus plus. So now what I'm going to check is if x of I minus 1 is equals to, so since this is in the matrix we are starting from the index 1, but we need to check in the strings we need to check from index 0, so that is the reason I am checking x of I minus 1, index I minus 1, and comparing it with the first j minus 1th index. So if it is equal, then what I'm going to do is in the matrix I need to add 1 to the, so 1 to the previous addition, like to the previous number. So for that I'm using a matrix of I minus 1 and j minus 1. and every time we change every time we change the index in the matrix, we need to check it with the length and update the length with whichever is the maximum number. So for that reason I'm using math.max, and we compare the length and the current sum. So once we finish comparing all the characters in both the strings, then we are going to return the length which contains the maximum, so the longest common substring's length. So this is the code. Now let's check the code with some example. Let's take this example. So first we need to create a matrix with x dot length plus one number of rows and y dot length plus one number of columns, which is 6 rows and 6 columns. So let's create a matrix first. 6 rows and 6 columns, and we need to fill all of them with zeros. And then let's initialize the variable length with 0, and now the for loop starts with I equals to 1 and j equals to 1. So now we will check if x of I minus 1, so x of which is x of 0, a is equal to the y of j minus 1, which is y of 0, which is x. So these two will be compared, and which is not equal, and so the j will be incremented and j becomes 2, and we compare it with y of 2 minus 1, which is 1. So the a is compared with the y, and they are not equal, hence the j is incremented, and a is compared with the next one, which is a. So now these are equal, and it enters into this if condition. Here what we are going to do is we are changing the matrix of ij. So I is 1 and j is 3. Here with I1 and j3 is this one is changed to 1 plus matrix of I minus 1 is 0 and j minus 1 is 2. So this is the one. To this value we add 1. So here it becomes 0 plus 1, which is 1. And we compare this with the length. So length becomes math.max of length, which is 0 comma 1. So the length becomes 1. And now I got incremented, and I becomes 2 and j is at 1. So this for loop starts again, and now we compare x of 2 minus 1, which is x of 1. So b is compared with y of j is 1, y of 0 is x. So these are not equal, so we increment the j, and b is compared with y, which is not equal, j is incremented, and b is compared with a, and j is incremented. So now at y of j minus 1, which is y of 3, we have b. So this is x of I minus 1 is equals to the y of j minus 1, and it enters into this if condition. Now the matrix of I, so I is 2 here, and j is at 4. So 0, 1 and 2 at I equals to 2 and j equals to 4, which is this one, we need to add 1 plus the previous sum. So previous sum is 1, so this becomes 2, and the length also becomes 2, because 2 is greater than the previous length, so the length becomes 2. And then the I got incremented, so now the I becomes 3 and j is at 1. At then we compare x of I minus 1, which is x of 2, is c. C is compared with all the elements from y. So first it is compared with x, and j becomes 2, and at y j becomes 3, at a it's 4, at b it's a 5. So c is compared with b, which is not equal, and j becomes 5. Now c is compared with the j of y of 4, so it is equal. Now it enters into the condition, and we need to change matrix of ij. So matrix of I is 3, so this is 3. So this is 3, and j is at 5. 3 of 5 is this one, so this becomes 1 plus the previous sum, which is 2. So this becomes 2 plus 1, which is 3, and the length is updated to 3. Now I becomes 4, and j is initialized to 1, and at x of I minus 1, which is x of 3, we have x, and we compare it with y of j minus 1, which is y of 0, which is x. So both of them are equal, and it enters into the if condition. And here at I equals to 4 and j equals to 1, which is here, we need to add 1 plus the previous sum. The previous sum here is 0, so this becomes 0 plus 1, and it is compared with the length, and 3 is greater than 1, hence we do not change the length. And then I is incremented, I becomes 5, and j is initialized to 1, and at x of I minus 1, which is x of 4, we have y, and at y of j minus 1, which is y of 0, we have x. So both are not equal. Then we increment the j becomes 2, and we compare y with j of 1, which is y of 1, which is y. So both of them are equal. Then we are entering into this if condition, and we need to change matrix of ij. So I is at 5 here, and j is at 2. So I of 5 is this row, and j of 2 is this one. To this we need to add 1 plus previous sum. So previous sum is 1, and this becomes 1 plus 1, which is 2, and we compare it with the length, and length is greater than the 2, so we do not change the length. And then now the I is incremented, I becomes 6, and 6 is not less than or equal to x dot length, because x dot length is 5. So this condition fails, and for loop ends here. Now we need to return the length. Finally we have length as 3, so 3 is returned. Thank you.